the Christmas season. Last week we began this journey of the Advent season with a theme, the season of light. And we asked the very question, is there enough light in the world with all the immense decorations going up? Do we need more lights? Oh yes, we do. We need that light shining bright within our hearts and our lives. So as we journey through this Advent season, a season of great light and awareness of this, calling us to a greater understanding of what it means to be a light, we get captured up in all the joy and festivities of the holiday season. How many of you have already seen Christmas carols? How many of you OD'd on Christmas carols? How many of you are ready to let go of Christmas carols? Are you singing, "'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la, don we now our gay apparel, la 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 la. And how about 'tis the season to be alive"? Wait, that's not how it goes, is it? Oh, but maybe it is. Maybe that's really what we need to be singing. 'Tis the season to be a light. It's a season of darkness around us as the world changes. This winter season, the sun sets earlier and it rises seemingly later. The day seems so much shorter. It's a season of darkness calling for an awareness of light. Did you know that there are 14 different holiday occasions during the month of December? There are many, many more even beyond that, but they're all calling in these holidays from various different traditions an awareness about light. And how important it is to have an awareness and consciousness of light, because light transforms everything. Light changes everything. For when that light comes on, it illuminates, and the world of understanding is available to us. What we have in common with all these different traditions is that this light has a power to transform. And so our calling as people of the light, as people of this wonderful teaching of Jesus, as people who will call yourself Christ-like, is to be a transforming light. A light that shines so bright. And that does something more than just being a beacon, but it radiates, sharing that which is from within. And today our focus is to be a sharing light. Now, when we think about this, we ask our question, how do we become that transforming light? How do we become that? Well, how do you light anything? You know, lighting a candle. We've had this wonderful Advent lighting, a wreath that we're lighting each week. And as we go to light those candles, what happens is the wick comes near a source of fire or a flame. And so it is in our own lives as we become closer and closer to our own divine source. We ignite. The fire comes up within our hearts and our lives as we, like the wick of the lamp of our life, comes close to that wonderful divine presence of God. We become one with that. The very fire of God ignites us, and we come into a sense of complete or wholeness or a oneness as a light for the world. And we've been wanting this all along in our lives. You know that? Because in humanity, in the journey of our lives, everyone would say, I really want to feel purpose. I want to feel whole. I want to feel complete. I'm looking for that which is really the very essence of my life. And why am I here? And these cries that we hear over and over from all kinds of people from different walks of life that's saying, I'm searching. I really want to know how to come into this sense of being one. We've been wanting it all along. And what happens is our struggle is we simply forget. We forget where we came from. Now, I can't say this over and over again, and I have to say I'm going to repeat this in several themes, because one of our challenges we have is we as a people, we forget where we came from. How about you? When your mother or your father said goodbye to you as you went off to college, did any of them say to you, don't forget where you came from? How do they say that to me? When I left home at 17 to go off to college, they said to me, I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to tell you this. Do not forget where you came from. Remember your family. Remember all that we taught you. Remember your culture. Remember all these kind of things. It was kind of the essence of the lecture I was given as I went off to college. Their great fear was that I would forget. That somehow I would come back changed, be something different, not part of the family, not part of the community. That I would abandon everything that they tried to instill within my heart and my life. So they wanted to sit me down and say, I want you to remember. Scripture does the very same thing. For all through the ages, The very passage of Scripture inviting us to remember that you've been created in the divine image and likeness. And I want you to raise your hand right now and promise me you will not forget that. Raise your hand right now and tell me, I will not forget that I'm created in the image and likeness of God. Say that with me. I will not forget that I'm created in the image and likeness of God. Because as you go forth, this is the very beginning of understanding how to be this transformational light for the world. That we realize that there is a wonderful power that's been invested in our lives from our very first breath. And that's the very essence of the divine. But we find so many people say, you know what, Pastor, I'm a mess. I'm having all kinds of challenges. I'm having all kinds of problems. I can't do these things by myself. I feel like I need an outside power or something outside of me. And that's because we've forgotten that it's already within. That there's a divine power and presence already instilled with us from the very birth. That we were created in divine blessing and divine goodness. God created everything, and what does it say in Genesis? It was good. God didn't say, I created everything, and not so good. And some of you, well, we're a little rough around the edges, and some things, well, we ain't going to talk about, who's naughty and nice, even though it's Christmas season, That isn't what happened at all. God said it's good. The creation is good. All that I brought into being is good. So when we forget that goodness deep within us, that's when we say, I don't have the ability. I don't think I can do this. Oh, but there's a source, a flame within us. And that's where we get the wick of our little candle of our life, close to the divine power and presence of it ignites. And we realize that there's that transforming power that's been within us all along. We think that there is nothing within us that's good and that God created us powerless, void of God's divinity and ability and understanding. And that's why we are always trying to turn to something else outside of us. We have a society that's constantly looking for something to fulfill them, to help them make it through, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who are stressed in life and they don't know what to do, so I just need a cocktail. You know what I mean? Just give me that cocktail. Help me make it through the day. Okay. Somebody may say, oh, wait a minute, I need something else to help me make it through. I need this or that. And we're looking outside of our lives and not really acknowledging, wait a minute, more powerful than any cocktail, more powerful than any drug, more powerful than any outside source is that which is already within. And I just need to go there. And if I never forget that I was created with a divine source of power and presence within me, then I'll never have to look elsewhere. I just simply have to go within and accept that which is within to be that transforming power. This then takes us to this wonderful place where we become a transformational light that reveals what it means to be godlike. We reveal this to the very world, what it means to be, have this generous, eager to bless, ever giving and ever sharing character that is God. Because if we know anything about God, as we've discovered all through the scriptures, there is an underlying theme of generosity and blessing that is there. Unfortunately, in our world today, we've grown up in churches that all we hear about from God is there's an overlying theme of punishment, judgment, condemnation, guilt, or shame. Yet Jesus came and said, I did not come to condemn the world. I came to lift you up, empower you. I came with a message of abundant life. There's no condemnation here. And even for those who may hear the word but not listen to it, we talked about that last week. They may hear the word but not receive it or really connect to it. Even those, there's no condemnation. There's only this sense of empowerment that has been brought through the very message. A sense of giving, of generosity, of love and grace that's ever there for our lives. And when we understand this, and we come into this character, oh, this wonderful character of God that's generous, eager to give and eager to bless, it's transformational for our lives. Because suddenly we realize that we're in a different place. We're not just here to receive for our own selves. We're receiving for the purpose of sharing with others. For all that is the goodness of God was not just there for God's own sake, but given for the goodness of giving, that we might receive and there might be a flow of sharing. A cycle begins that turns around in our lives. And so as we desire to be this transforming light, we come closer and closer to this character of God. We want to go deeper and deeper and envelop it more, absorb it into our lives. We welcome it so much that the greatest compliment you could give to a Christian is, you're full of it. Yes, you're full of the divine presence of God. You're full of it. That's what the compliment should be. We need to turn that whole phrase around and embrace it, because when they say you're full of it, oh, of course, full of all the goodness and the blessings, because I've absorbed, I've welcomed this divine character into my life in such a way that I am transformed. And I live out the fullness of God, because those who live in the fullness walk every day in a joy of abundance. Every single day. There's no lack in their life, because they're walking and living in this fullness. There is certainly maybe around them that in the physical world you may say, well, they don't have this or they don't have that. But they have all the things that they really need that are there for them. For the ever-abundance of God is flowing in an unlimited source. All the things that you really, really, really value in life are there. They're there for you in an unlimited source. And the greatest thing about it is when we realize this, the more we give of it, the more it comes. I tell you, our spiritual life is kind of like kudzu. You ever deal with kudzu? You know how it is. It's that plant that has eaten the South. It has devoured our countryside and all of our forests. It just grows like crazy. It is something that it just gives off little seeds and little tentacles. And you know that it grows about a foot every single day? An immense, rapid growth that happens. Because the more it gives, the more it actually takes on, and the broader and larger it becomes. So it is in our lives, and when we realize this transforming light is a sharing light, the more we give, the more that comes up within us, the more that dwells within us, the more that bubbles up, the more that comes through our lives. So the more generous we are with those things that we've been given of God, by God, the more it manifests within us. It's kind of like falling in love. How many of you have fallen in love, okay? Some of you know what that all is all about in your lifetime. You've had this deep, rich experience of falling, sinking, drowning in love. It has overtaken you. It consumes you. You do those crazy things like talk all night on the phone, you know? You do those crazy things like making each and every moment to be with each other and finding those ways in your busy schedule. You always have time for that one when you're first falling in love. Isn't that the truth? You want nothing more than to do something for the other person. You want to think about flowers and gifts and loving acts and ways to demonstrate this very love. You become obsessed with them. You are falling in a deeper hole and sinking into love that, well, you're transformed, and so it is with God. The Bee Gees sang a great song. How deep is your love? I ain't going to sing it. How deep is your love? I really mean to learn was the phrase, wasn't it? How many of you remember those? You dated yourself, okay. You know the Bee Gees. And it's a deep question God asks the same. So how deep is your love? How deep is it? Is it the kind of love that you have fallen so deeply in love with God that you've almost sunk down in? A deep love where your very essence is now the essence of the Creator, one and the same. Where we are transformed from living as if we are here to receive for ourselves, but instead we're embracing the very generous character of God, that we receive only for the purpose of giving to others. We want so desperately to bless back, to love back, to return back that which has come to us because of this deep, deep, deep love that we've experienced within the journey of our life. Isn't it strange that at Christmas time, we think about creating our Christmas want lists, our wish lists. We ask the children, what do you want for Christmas? And what they put together is their getting lists. Yet the very spirit of Christmas is about a giving list. And somehow in our world we flipped it from the very divine character of God, of being so in love with God that we want to give, that instead we created a season of we want to get. And what happens is that sometimes we come to these places where children say, well, I didn't get this for Christmas. Or did you have this conversation with relatives where we ask, what did you get for Christmas? You know, Johnny, we were on the phone, what did you get for Christmas? Tell Grandpa what you got for Christmas. You know, tell Uncle Suze, Uncle John, you know, Uncle Bob, what you got for Christmas. And we go on and on with these conversations of what did you get? Did we ever ask the children, what did you give? And a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, children, they're so young. They're too young to even think about giving. They've got no money. They've got nothing. But we don't teach and impart. Spirit of Christmas is the spirit of giving. And we understand that the very Spirit of God that we celebrate is the generosity of God, the giving essence. The problem with our celebrations of Christmas is we almost create a very negative culture, a negativity that is a desire to receive for ourselves alone. And so then we find those people who have those post-Christmas blues. Well, my holiday wasn't as great as what I thought it could have been. We had such high expectations. People get disappointed. You know, I didn't really get anything special. I got this ugly tie that I really didn't want. You know, instead, you know, I got this Christmas sweater, and I have 4 just like it for the last 5 years, you know, or so. You know how we say, and we finally get to this place where it's all about a negative culture that was Christmas was all about what did you get instead of what did you share? What did you give? And so it is that we understand that this is how we become the light. Our text today from Proverbs 11:24 says, one gives freely, yet grows richer. That doesn't seem to make sense. How do you give liberally and freely and only grow richer? And another withholds that he or she would give and suffers want. But that doesn't make sense. Should it not be that the more I hold, then the more secure I have, the more things I hoard and collect, that it eliminates my desire for want? Because I'm hoarding, I'm holding on to everything. And how crazy it would be to even think in such a way that if I give liberally, what's going to happen is that I'm going to grow richer? That doesn't make sense in today's economy or today's physical world. But the very concept of our spiritual growth is beyond the physical. And understanding that the more we receive and with the intention to give, the more the divine flow works through in our lives. Yet the more that we say we want to hoard and hold back, the more we hinder this divine flow. For the text says, whoever brings blessings will be enriched. Whoever shares of the very essence of their life, sharing in the very character of God, of the divine within you, acting and living that out, that person will be enriched. The one who waters will reap the blessings of being watered. What a beautiful visual for our lives. For as we water, as we take care of others, as we reach out and share the very light of God, we know that it comes back in return to us in such a beautiful way for our lives. For whoever shares this light only becomes a greater light. And this is the very truth of our lives, that when we understand this power of sharing, the more you share, the brighter your light becomes. The more you do the giving of the very character and essence of God and living it out, the more you become God-like. It just flourishes and rises up within you. That transformational light is one that's ever giving with the intention of sharing the very essence of the divine. There's all these wonderful stories that make our hearts warmed in the season. Let me share a few of those who've chosen to be a light in unique and special ways. The gentleman writes, leaving a store, I returned to my car, only to find that I locked my keys and I locked my cell phone inside the car. Been there. Know what that's like. Teenager riding his bike saw me kick the tire and say a few choice words, and he asked, what's wrong? I explained my situation. Keys, cell phone, locked in the car. And even if I tried to call my wife, she can't bring me her car keys since this is our only car. She has no transportation. The young boy handed in his cell phone. He said, call your wife and tell her I'm coming to get her and to get her key, and I'll bring it back to you. We said, well, that's crazy. That's 7 miles, a round trip. 7 miles one way, 7 miles back. That's craziness. On your bike? The young teenage boy said, don't worry about it. And an hour later, he returned with the key and he was offered some money, but refused, saying, let's just say I needed the exercise. And then he drove off. The spirit of sharing, the wonderful attitude of light. It's transformation. How about this one? I saw a dress in a consignment shop, and I knew my granddaughter would love it. But I only had a little bit of money. So I asked the store owner if she could hold it for me. There was a voice behind me that said, may I buy that dress for you? Sounds strange. As I turned around, she said, thank you, but I can't accept such a gracious gift. And then she told me why it was so important for her to do this for me. She said, I've been homeless for 3 years, and it had not been for the kindness of strangers, I wouldn't have been able to survive. I'm no longer homeless, and my situation has improved, she said, and I promised myself that I would repay the kindness so that many had shown me. So she paid for the dress, and the only payment she would accept in return was a heartfelt hug. That's transforming light. That's the power of receiving, only with the spirit of saying, I want to give back in return. I was driving across country to start a new job. I was so full of excitement as I was beginning this new adventure. But suddenly that new adventure turned out to be a nightmare when I'd run out of all my money, and I still had a distance to go. I wasn't going to be able to reach my destination. So I pulled over along the side of the road and had the good old pity party and began to cry, and let those tears flow. And that's when I noticed an unopened farewell card my neighbor had shoved in my hands as I left. I pulled out the envelope, and a $100 bill dropped out. Just enough to get me to my destination and begin my new adventure. When we think about this, it's the spirit of Christmas that's full of these random acts of kindness, this very sense of sharing the light of God, expressing the very generosity and kindness that is meant to be. To give, to give, to give is the season of Christmas. For it's a season of light that illuminates the darkness. You see, light is a gift that isn't always wrapped up with a pretty Christmas bow. It may come in different shapes. It may come in different sizes. It may manifest in many different ways. But it's the gift of kindness that shows the world God's character, generosity, and grace. The interesting thing is that light gives, yet darkness takes. Light gives illumination, and darkness hides it and conceals it. But when we are that light, it's a spirit of generous giving and sharing at all times. So let me share this. To be that transformational light is this. It starts with that awakening of the desire to be one, where the wick hits the flame, where the wick touches the source. When we sense that desire to be one, it unfolds in a deeper and deeper sense of the character of God working within us. We fall deeper and deeper and deeper in love. And we know, as the Bee Gees sang, how deep is your love? We can answer it. Oh, it's rich. It happens when we welcome this transformation from a self-centered desire to receive for ourselves, to receive for the purpose of sharing. That's why we receive, for the purpose of sharing. And what are we sharing? Oh, all the goodness of God. Every day, that which has come your way, we share a portion back. This is the journey of our life, for this is the season of life. This is the season of giving, and this is the season of the light of God. Amen.